Yesterday, he played elite, and what happened? The team overcame a shitty running game and a shitty defense. This is the formula this year. This is a weird football team, John, this Eagles team.
No, really it's very weird. Very weird team. Very weird team. I'm just watching DeVonta's touchdown again. It popped up on my feed. Oh, no, this was a different play. Yeah, he had a big game, man. He's a great receiver.
He really is a great receiver.
So tough for his size, too.
Well, you said last week you didn't think he was top 15. Is that because of the talent of the player or more because of the
there's a shitload of good receivers. Like, you know.
Well, there is, but I do think if DeVonta was in a more consistent pass-happy offense, which maybe, I don't know, maybe we become
maybe. But sometimes it's good because I do think, at some point they list him at 170. He ain't 170. At some point, like if he were catching, like Puka was out this week, but if you were catching 110 balls like Puka, I don't think he'd hold up. So some part of it is good to a certain degree, but he's just really gifted, really talented. Again, unique is a big word with this team, but to be that guy, to be the guy that catches 100 balls, a lot of it is just standing up to the punishment.
Yeah, it's true.
Is part of it. And then that's a position because of the way football is now at the lower levels. They don't practice offensive and defensive linemen. So they don't get to practice. They don't get to hit until basically the games. And all they do in the offseason is play 7-on-7. So you got all these skilled quarterbacks and receivers and to a certain degree corners on defense. There's a boatload of those guys, and there isn't a boatload at more physical positions.
John, how concerned are you on the Eagles' defense right now, brother?
Like I said, I thought, they play a certain style, and that's Vic's style. I think if you compare it to last season, but look, as long as they play in the red zone like they played in the red zone, they're fine.
Well, remember, you did have the gift of course.
Well, you had a couple gifts. The Brandell holding was not a hold.
Yeah,
the Hawkinson touchdown. That's the over legislation of the NFL, but it is what it is. So it wasn't quite as good as it looked on paper. And then you had the stupid Carson play with the whatever he was doing. So you're right. I mean, but bottom line is they were really tough. Even the one touchdown they scored, they were right there. And that the guy got it in by an inch, literally. They were playing really tough in the red zone. They're turning it over. They get the big turnovers. Jalix Hunt with the pick six, Makuba, and they didn't turn over. So they win the giveaway takeaway again, which they do almost every week. I think there was a lot of positive to the defense, but the big issue remains the same, and that's why Brandon Graham's going to be here. They got an edge problem, but I'd like to shift more towards let's see if Campbell can do it.
Yeah, I agree.
And get Nakobe on the field.
Boy, he's a small edge, but he at least looks like he might be able to do it, John. I think someone put out a stat he'd be the smallest edge since.
Well, and then if you move him to edge, similar to, I don't want to compare him to Micah, but then you gain weight. He's plenty of room to get on the frame.
Yeah,
get up to 250.
He's got the frame that will build out too. He's not limited in that realm.
But I mean, and Jalen Carter with the big play, that was the most overreactive thing. Like, he hasn't played up to his level of what was expected. I think we all agree with that. But the guy's so impactful. And coming off a week where he wasn't there and you saw how they struggled without him.
Right.
It seemed like the worst time to point that out.
That's the big advantage next week versus the Giants. But how many times last week did it look like they had Jackson Dart dead to rights? And he just like skirts and scoots, and then he picks up a first. I was getting so pissed off last week. I think Jalen Carter is going to change that up a lot.
Well, I don't know if he's going to chase down Jackson Dart, but he's going to
I just mean, he's not going to be able to escape the pocket as easy.
Like his impact on the game is just because you have to deal with him. I mean, you saw the Hunt touchdown. I mean, that for whatever reason, I don't know if it was a blown assignment or what. He was one-on-one with the center, and that was just a turnstile. I mean, he was on Carson Wentz in a second. Very few people can do that. And the easiest way to affect a quarterback is pressure right up the middle. And you got the big play going the other way. And, a lot of, again, people see the end game and the pick six. That's a Jalen Carter play, man. That's a Jalen Carter play.
All right. So other side, what's the concern level on the offensive line?
Well, very concerning. Number one, you got to see what happens with Cam Jurgens. He played 15 snaps, left the game, did not return, knee injury.
Heard anything about that yet, John?
He's getting an MRI, so we should hear something today. If he's going to miss some time, that's an issue because I don't think Brett Toth is a long-term center answer. You might have to move Landon. That's what they did last year when he was out for a small period. But do you really want to do that for a longer period? Drew Kendall, rookie, natural center. He's not going to have trouble snapping the football, at least. You might have to look down that avenue. But yeah, that would be a problem if they lose, even though Cam Jurgens hasn't been playing up to his typical standard. That's a big loss if they lose him.
Yeah. John, yesterday, Jalen Hurts, 4 for under center play action, 4 for 4, 120, and 1 touchdown. Before that game yesterday, they didn't have a single under center play action completion in 2025. Is that on Kevin Fatula? Like how?
Well, they didn't
one play action completion. How?
Like, no offense, but they never did it. So, I mean, like, what is the point of that statistic?
Why? Why didn't they do it? Why?
Because they have a quarterback comfortable being in the gun. His history for his entire career has been pretty successful in the gun, and they really don't play that style of football. And they did it to get the running game going, and it worked for a different reason. So maybe it opens up that door to do it a little bit more. But basically, the only times they were under center is when they're tush pushing, which was pretty successful. But when you talk about, yes, could you do the little trick plays, out of the tush push like they did to who was that, Dallas, or was that Saquon? I forget. The one time they ran a play out of the tush push. By the way, the Vikings had they did a pretty good job on that.
I know. It looked like yeah.
I thought they stopped him on the first. You can't tell, I guess. They gave.
My initial thought was that they did too, honestly. But
yeah, I thought they did, but obviously they gave him a first down. But I thought it was an interesting way to deal with it. But for the standpoint, they just didn't use it, and they tried to use it to get the running game going, and it worked. It's similar to, other fashions. It's like, all right, well, it works, so maybe they'll use it more. But for the fact, I mean, they haven't been like, I didn't hear many people complaining about Kellen Moore not being under center, except for the tush push, or Shane or Brian. Well, Brian, yes. They're not an under center team. Now, maybe they'll do it a little bit more. Probably not, but maybe. They're going to be mainly a shotgun team.
There was talk that Jalen Hurts went and said that he wanted to be under center more.
I don't know who's talking that, but I mean, sounds like something you say after a game, and it worked.
I think they got to do it more, man. This running game ain't the same, folks. It ain't the same.
Well, it didn't help with the running game. That was the goal of why they did it, but it didn't help. It helped with the passing game. Probably because Minnesota was surprised that they were actually throwing. That part is correct. But now that it's on tape, on film, people are going to be more cognizant of it. So, I mean, like I said, when it happens, they were on the DeVonta touchdown. That is a quintessential old school Oakland Raiders shot play. Under center, play action, traditional play action to the running back, double move.
Yep.
Traditional NFL shot play. And it worked. So people are going to translate, well, that's going to work all the time. Not going to work all the time. And now that people have seen it, but that's the beauty of creating a tendency and going about it. I always go back to Shane, that Zach Pascal touchdown, if people remember that. He ran that early in the game, that play, and it was Zach Pascal. So everybody thinks he's blocking. So everybody on the field thinks he's blocking. They run the same play. Zach Pascal feigns the block and then goes behind the corner, and they get an easy touchdown. Now, DeVonta's a much better player, I'm saying, but you fooled somebody because of your tendency. That's what happened on that play. You fooled somebody because of their tendency. That doesn't mean you can then do it every game. It's no longer then it becomes a tendency in the other direction.
Right.
So it's a play that worked, and it worked beautifully, and maybe they start using it a little bit more, but they're going to be a shotgun team, and they should be.
Yeah, I mean, that's Jalen, obviously Jalen's strength, but I don't like the narrative that he can't play under center. He can't, obviously. He's a professional quarterback. And what the fuck?
Well, I always say anybody can do anything. Can they do it effectively? That's the question.
Right. That's
like when we talk about guys lining, can he line up on the edge? Well, yeah, he can. Can he do it effectively? That's with everybody. Can they take a snap under center and be effective throwing the football? He doesn't have a lot of history in his life turning his back to you look at these traditional play action quarterbacks, they turn their back to the defense, and you got to be comfortable with that. You got to trust your offensive line. You got to trust everything's going to work. And it's just something, it's not just Jalen Hurts. Most young quarterbacks aren't familiar with, don't do a lot because, again, the college game is completely different and they don't use it for the most part. So that's what they learn. And that's why he's more comfortable doing that. Doesn't mean he can't do it. He obviously just did do it. But to extrapolate that he's going to be really good at that consistently is also kind of jumping the gun a little bit.
We'll see what they end up doing. Let's get some super chats here from the great people of JAKIB Nation. I think a couple of them aren't very happy, but they'll live. They'll live. Here's a dirty air. Oh, no, wait. We got to start earlier here. Here's Sean. How is anybody eating crow? If Jalen can consistently pass the ball over a span of games, then I'll eat crow. 5 bad games, 1 good game ain't enough. Well, I don't think he played 5 bad games, but we need him to play an MVP caliber. All the people who tell me he's elite are all the people who get mad at me for not holding him to an elite standard. An elite standard is an elite standard, whether you like it or not. Yesterday, he played elite, and what happened? The team overcame a shitty running game and a shitty defense. This is the formula this year.
By the way, any concern that he played at that level and it was still shaky at the end?
Well, I don't think it was shaky at the end because of him, though.
But I'm saying there's one play if you stop the 3rd and 13. There's one play if you stop whatever the
yeah, but again, that's not on him. That's because the other parts of the team are struggling.
But I'm saying I'm talking about the other parts of the
Yeah,
team.
well, I mean, look,
I'm saying,
how often do you see Josh Allen have an elite game and you're like, boy, they barely won by the skin of their teeth? Like you always say, John, welcome to the rest of the NFL.
well, that's true, but I mean, that's a high level game that you're not going to be able to replicate. That's what I'm trying to say. And I don't think Minnesota played particularly well, and they were still in the game. Because I said yesterday, I'm like, how are they in this game? I'm talking. It's got nothing to do with Jalen Hurts. If that's what you're, it's got to do with everybody else. Like, how are they still in that game? He won that game for them.
Yeah,
Period.
What shows you that MVP Hurts is going to be needed week in and week out, John?
Well, yeah, it shows you the rest of the team wasn't as great as most probably think they were.
Sean, appreciate the super chat. I do not think Jalen played 5 bad games. All right. I don't think he played elite, though, in the first 6 weeks. Here's Lauren. 2 words, more meetings.
You can't possibly have more meetings than an NFL team. So there you go. That's a every week thing.
I think they do. She's around a little bit, John.
I know. It's all they do. Well, that's why I laugh. No, I'm not. I know he's playing around. I'm saying I laugh when people bring that out. It's like all they do is meet. All they do is meet, to the point of it's kind of comical.
Here's Dirty Air. Did all those 3rd and long runs earlier in the year help set up those 3rd and long bombs yesterday?
Yeah. Come on, Dirty Air. Man, you got it. You listen to the show a lot. Like, they set up a couple 4th downs with runs. Sometimes it didn't work. Like, one of the things about, and Detroit does it better than anybody else. So you're sitting there at 3rd and 7, and well, you're running the ball. You're running the ball to get to 4th and 2. So because you're going to go for it. So the Eagles have that mindset into it. Now, also, when it's 3rd and 13 or 3rd and 15, a lot of the times when you're not having the off-schedule success, you are trying to just play field position. You're trying to draw it. You're trying to get 7, 8 yards, kick a field goal maybe if you're in the plus side, punt it if you're on the negative side. I mean, this entirety of like it's 3rd and 25, just throw it 25 yards, don't give up. There's a little bit more strategy, and you saw some of it work yesterday, at least on one occasion where it was like a 3rd and 6 or a 3rd and 7, and they got it to 4th and 1 or 4th and 2, and they got it. Where's the credit for those instances? Nobody does it better than Detroit. They do that all the time. All the time. If you have that mindset that you're going for it on 4th down, it changes your 3rd down play call.
Yeah, Dirty Air, appreciate the super chat. Here's Ant Man. What's up, Ant? He says Jalen Hurts so far in 25, 136 and 195, 69.7%, 1498 yards, 54 rush, 185 yards, 16 total tutties, 11 pass, 5 rushing, 1 turnover, 2 turnovers. That's all right, though. 108.9 passer rating. I'm not saying he's playing great, just got to be more consistent. Well, I do agree. I think that's fair.
I don't know. If you're listening to the show, Ant, I said, throw out this game and throw out his worst game, and then use the other games for your stats. And as a wise general manager said to me, I can get the data anywhere, a million places. Make it actionable for me. What does that fucking mean to me? How's that helping me win? I don't care what the numbers say. Jalen Hurts played great yesterday. He's not gonna have 158.3 passer rating. So all the numbers are skewed this week because of the numbers from yesterday. The total numbers, because again, the sample size, no better indication than DeVonta Smith, who's now the 6th highest receiving yards in the NFL because of one game. Jalen Hurts played great. Again, if you want, always take out the odd. If you want the real story, take out the best game, take out the worst game, and then formulate the statistics, and you have a better indication of what a player is really doing. You don't look at the high point and say, this is it. And also, football's not a statistical game, which I will say to my dying breath, which might happen quickly because it drives me insane.
Ant-Man, appreciate it, brother. Here's B Pumper. I like Makuba, but the tackling is the least of my concerns. The guy keeps letting receivers get past him in his deep zone.
Yeah, I think the tackling's the biggest problem with Drew, man.
Yeah, I think he's got,
and that'll get. He also had a big hit, though. You see, he's got the willingness, and it's a little bit undersized, but he had a big hit inside the 5-yard line. Stopped the guy cold. He's got potential, but he's missing too many tackles in the open field. As a coverage player, it's pretty darn good for a rookie.
B Pump, appreciate it, brother. Here's Dirty Air again. Pumper, a.k.a. the Carson Wentz of Hurts takes. Ooh. Pumper, they're coming for you, brother.
Yeah. The Carson Wentz effect, man. Dude is, he's a trip. He's a roller coaster. But yeah, they're in a bad situation at quarterback, but that ain't the Eagles' problem.
No, it ain't. Here's Vulnerable Vitality. He says, okay, John, you can get it too. Mizzou about to crush the hopes and dreams of your Commodores. I'll save a seat for you on the MU bandwagon. No, Jeff, you can't have it either.
Yeah, I like the quarterback, so, it's not going to change. I mean, I just like his moxie, his competence, his willing. Yeah, that was a shit program for a long time. Had a couple little spikes. But, Saban, that SEC show I said on Netflix, that's where I learned about Diego Pavia. And Nick Saban was one of the guys. He was on the whatever pregame show he does, and said the only gimme in on the road in the SEC is playing at Vanderbilt the week that they upset Alabama. Poor Kellen DeBoer had to, and Pavia heard that. And it's like, I'm gonna fucking beat these guys.
Yeah.
And he fucking beat them.
I do like him. You're right about him. Here's JD3. In 10 to 15 years from now, we will look back on this as the era of Sirianni, the offensive-minded genius building offenses with limited quarterbacks.
Wow. I don't know if that's a joke or what, but Nick rarely gets any credit. He does a good job building offenses around different quarterbacks. He proved that in Indianapolis. That's why he got the job. I tell people all the time. He built 3 different offenses in 3 different years because of circumstance. Andrew Luck retired. They didn't expect it. Very late in the process. It was easy to build an offense around Andrew Luck, but nonetheless, they did a very good job with him. Then they had to build an offense around Jacoby Brissett, which just was entirely different. It was pretty good. And then they had to build an offense around Phillip Rivers, which again was easier, but you have to do it. Completely different quarterback. And then he's built an offense around Jalen Hurts that has been very, very, very successful. Might not look the greatest from style points at times. It did yesterday. Most weeks it doesn't. But it's been very, very, very successful.
JD, good stuff. Appreciate it. Here's Dwayne. Jalen Hurts is the Rodney Dangerfield of the NFL.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. Like I said, people in the NFL respect the hell out of Jalen Hurts. You're talking about media people and fans, and to me, that's a different conversation. All I hear in the NFL is, God, this dude's a pain in the ass. And you saw it yesterday. And I'm not talking about the touchdowns and the long throws. I'm talking about 3rd and 9, 3rd and 13, 3rd and 15. That's what kills the defense. And that has nothing to do with Nick Sirianni or Kevin Patullo or play calling or anything else. It's just guy making a play out of nothing. And there's like 5 guys in the world. You want to talk about elite? There's like 5 guys in the world that can do that at Jalen Hurts' level. That's what he's elite at, making something out of nothing. And that drives defensive coordinators or defensive head coaches crazy because you do everything right. Like that fourth down play, Minnesota did everything right except get home after 4 seconds or whatever it was. And he made a play.
Here's Kimberly. Penn State trying to lure Saban out of it. He ain't fucking retiring.
Maybe.
Unretiring. The dude's living the dream. He's going on a mansion in Jupiter, Florida. He's golfing every weekend, and he works a day a week on college game day. The guy's living the dream, Kimberly.
Well, he might love coaching, but why would he come back to Penn State? Come on.
All right, here we go. B Pumper. Hey, fellas, what y'all think of AJ saying just throw the effing ball when he got that TD? Interesting. I wonder who he's talking about. Sip the tea. I don't think that's what he said, Pumper. I saw a bunch of people put that on social media. I listened to it. I didn't hear that at all.
Yeah, I don't know what he said. I don't care. I mean, it's no secret the ball doesn't come out on time. That hasn't changed. Because of one good game. He's had great games in the past. He's played great in both Super Bowls. This is one of the best. It might be the best game, period, but it's certainly one of the top 2 or 3 games he's ever had. But on the week-to-week basis, when it's, again, 3rd and 7, the play's there, the receiver's open.
They're not robots. It's an emotional game. He made a big catch, bro. He made a big catch, and he got fired up about it. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's not. Well, it's like the same thing. It's like Saquon catching the touchdown when we were talking about DeVonta. Like people make a big deal out of DeVonta lobbying for a play, or Saquon saying, "Oh, we a wheel route we didn't have in the playbook." It's an emotional moment, and people take it like it's gospel. Even though they've seen wheel routes in the offense. It is what it is.
Here we go. B Pump, thanks, brother. Real Zeal says, was going under center more about Mantooth struggling with the snap during camp? I mentioned that early in the show, Zeal.
Yeah, I mean, a bunch of guys struggled. Trevor Keegan struggled too. But he has struggled. Now they had a plan to go in to use more under center, and it was about getting the running game going. Did it increase a little bit? Maybe because of Toth, but they took plenty of shotgun snaps with Brett out there, and he didn't have a bad snap. I don't think, did he? I don't recall one.
No. The only bad snap I saw yesterday was the one that sailed over Carson Wentz.
Yeah, they had a bad snap.
That was a bad snap.
Another, their center is a guard tackle playing center. That's what Brett is, by the way. So, and they had a bad snap. I do not believe he had a bad snap, but he has struggled in training camp for years with that. It's not a natural thing to do for most offensive linemen. But yeah, maybe a little bit, but I don't. But they had a plan to come in, even if Cam was out there, to be under center more because they wanted to get the running game going. And it did not work. And they toggled.
Here's B Pump. Fellas, 158.3 passer rating, but those stats are skewed. It's a whole lot of Jalen chucking deep balls. The AJ seam pass was his best. I said yesterday that was the best throw yesterday. I agree with that. But come on. Pumper. You can't be taken seriously if you can't give credit when credit is earned. Come on, Pump.
Yeah, I mean, anybody who says he didn't play a great game is not paying attention. He played a great game. But the same thing with the outliers. Everybody's spiking the football like everything is solved. Well, maybe it is, but we've seen these types of games before, not at this level, but similar. And it goes back to some of the other games you've seen this year. And that's what you're trying to get to. Now, again, you can't have 158.3 every week, but you're looking for more consistency in the passing game. And it's going to be interesting because I think this week the Giants are going to play a different style of defense and force more on-time throws. And we're going to see if they exist or they don't exist.
Good stuff. Pump. One more super chat, Johnny Mac. Two more. Here's Mirsky. Mirsky, thanks, brother. Appreciate it. He also followed up and said, I'm from Philly. Please tell me BG is back.
He's well, he never left, but he's going to be back. Yeah, probably today or tomorrow. Certainly before practice on Wednesday.
And then one more. SR20 says, didn't Sills say 350-yard game Friday being funny? I don't know. You got to ask Sills that one, my friend. But maybe he did. Sills is always messing with the Eagle fanboys. All right, Johnny Mac, your final thoughts here on a Monday. The Birds are back in the win column. Jalen Hurts has delivered a dominant MVP performance and has silenced the critics for now, Johnny Mac.
Yeah, got a by the way, they just put up the PFF grades. He got a 95.2.
Wow.
95.2. So that is the highest I've seen from a quarterback in a long time. And that tells you he played a tremendous game. DeVonta over 90, AJ over 85. So the grades spell out how well they played, and they deserve credit for it. But again, 50-point game. Don't assume it's going to continue unless you want to be depressed, because it's hard to keep up that level of performance.
Yep, no doubt. Johnny Mac, great show today, my friend. We will catch you tomorrow on a Tuesday edition of Birds 365. Maybe we'll talk later today if the BG news breaks.
It might not, but it's coming soon. So yeah, I wouldn't worry myself over it.
All right, good stuff. Johnny Mac, thank you, brother. Talk to you tomorrow or maybe later on. We'll see what happens. Thank you, brother.
All right, thanks all.